Hey guys, this is a video I've been wanting to make for years and years, and I finally decided to do it. Like so many other things I've put off in life and just having a lot of time inside, I thought this is the day I'm gonna do it. So I have a lot of old vintage Fair Isle or Norwegian knitting patterns that I have collected over the years. I've been a collector, and I thought, oh my gosh, this would be so fun to share with people. And so I decided today's the day I'm going to do this. And so not all of my patterns are so vintage that they are from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, but most of mine are from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, let's just say. Some of them are from British designers, some are from Scandinavian designers. And I'm starting out with my favorite one first, and I just thought I would just take you through it and play a little gentle music in the background, maybe not talk as much in this video. I'm super tired. I haven't been sleeping well lately, and so I don't have a lot of energy, and I'm kind of feeling like maybe my low energy might bring some people down. So I'm just gonna try to talk less and just show more. So this is a book that I found in a knitting shop in Santa Monica. I really don't know who published this, but the title is called Holcomb Bay Hand Knitting Annual 1997, and the cover sweater is something that I have been dreaming about wanting to make for so long. A lot of the British knitwear designs are knit flat, and I'm kind of uncomfortable with doing that because I find it easier to do colorwork knitting in circular needles in the round, so you don't have to purl. However, I have mastered the ability to purl in colorwork, so I'm totally fine with that. Or I can convert the pattern to knit it in the round and use steeking, and that is something maybe I'll challenge myself to do one day. But if I remember correctly, this pattern, was knit flat. So I'm gonna have to just kind of manipulate the photos so you can see, because back in the day, I guess especially in the 80s, a lot of the Rowan type pattern books were just published in this ultra big format, and I can't quite get my iPad to get situated so you guys can see everything. I'll try to push it back. If I push it back any more than this, I won't be able to turn the pages because I'm literally in front of the iPad. I'll try to adjust this and kind of flip through it the best I can. So these are the days when patterns were super long and boxy, and the photo styling is just so goofy for me to see. But some of these designs I would call classic that could be used today, and this is one of them, and this is my all-time favorite. Number one, would love to knit Fair Isle sweater that I have ever seen. It has set-in sleeves, those beautiful feminine collar with the short-waisted ribbing, and I love the natural colors of the yarn that they chose to make this in, and I love that sweater. I'm fairly certain, if I recall correctly, this was knit flat, not in the round. I love that dress. I think it's so cute. That's super fun. I could see that still being very relevant today. I feel like this was a Key Facet inspired design on the left there. For people who really like design, there's so much in here for inspiration with the different design elements. I love the unique treatment of the color on that cardigan. For me, I'd rather just knit one amazing sweater once a year rather than a new sweater every other month if I were a sweater knitter. Some kids' patterns in here. Isn't that cute? This is a fun cable sweater. It's super feminine, really like that. some intarsia. Oh, this is my second all-time favorite. A sleeveless Fair Isle sweater with the beautiful cable ribbing. Because I live in California, I would love to make this out of like a wool cotton, a very light wool cotton blend yarn. I just think this is so beautiful. And even though the pattern repeat is very, very simple, it seems very appropriate because of the color choices that were made. It's a very muted color, and this color palette is the color palette of my home. These are my favorite colors. I find them to be very, very calming and very soothing and very feminine. And starting from about 5 years ago, there was a color in house painting called Millennial Pink that was just showing up everywhere, not just in interiors, but with fashion. This color of pink, it's like a nude pink, was everywhere, and it's still very common. And so it's come back again. I just think it's beautiful. It's not quite a dusty rose. It's just like a peachy pink and like a really soft, warm pink. I just love it. And okay, so that's that one. The rest of my patterns are from a lot of the companies that were well known for producing these ski sweaters. And before the financial crisis here in California, we had a lot of yarn stores, fabric stores, paper crafting stores, all these independently owned hobby stores that you could buy these patterns and yarn, and then they all just disappeared. And the only way I can access any of the stuff now is online, and a lot of these patterns are retired and no longer available. And I kind of knew when I bought these that it would be very hard to find them after the fact, and so I just, if I saw one that I thought looked like it would be really classic, something that I would be able to enjoy knitting at any time, I just decided to get them, even though I had no plans to use them right away, because I just wanted to have an assortment of patterns I could choose from and work with in the future. Look at the, that's an incredible amount of work in these. There's just truly a showcase of talent. I love the tone-on-tone red and pinkish red of this sweater, and it has a, what is the term for that? Jacquard design that Olia, the company that works with, their lead designer is the gal that did the designs for Poetry and Stitches. And this is just stunning, very similar to that type of design. And I've got the pattern for it, so I'm so grateful. I have knit with patterns and pattern booklets like this, and I found that the English translation was very workable, and I didn't find any errors. And so I have a lot of trust with the drop design patterns. I feel like they invested in technical reviews and accurate English language translation. So I'm super happy to have that one. These are little boards that I work on top of for my painting. So I actually, this is a funny story. At one point, starting from about, I want to say 15 years ago, I had made it my purpose to travel to every yarn store in Southern California and to just look and see what they have. And all of these really ancient, old, vintage patterns were just there. Nobody wanted to buy them. And I was like, do they know what they're sitting on? Do they know how much they could charge if they sold this on eBay? And I was like, okay, I'll be very quiet and very grateful and pay like $6 for this book. So I don't think I'm ever gonna make an Icelandic sweater. And there's a lot of really neat ones online, and some of them are available for free. But I'll just kind of show you the book inside. I don't think I'll ever be able to need to wear a sweater with yarn that is this warm unless I move to a climate where it actually snows. here's the last pattern there. So a lot of these books have the patterns. I like that one. They have the patterns up front, and then a lot of the instruction are on the back of the book. So I also slowly over time, so a lot of these Dale of Norway patterns have been discontinued and are no longer in print, but you can still buy some Dale of Norway patterns. And do you see how lovely that is charted out? That for a mitten makes it super easy to follow once you realize how to follow a colorwork chart. But these are the days when Dale of Norway was kind of like a king in the yarn market. I don't know if people in Norway would call them a budget yarn, but I definitely feel that they are currently now a budget yarn. A lot of, at least some of the line has gone to China. I've tried their baby yarn after it started being produced in China, and it smelled funny. I was unhappy with it. And even before it started going to China, I did place an order for Dale of Norway yarn. I never liked it. But the patterns, I love the patterns. These remind me of the kind of ski sweaters that my grandmother would knit for my parents when they were young and were dating and didn't have any children and had lots of time to go out and enjoy winter sports together. So some beautiful classic designs that I haven't seen in any books published through the publishing world in the last 10 or 15 years. I just don't see books that come out with patterns like this. And to me, even though you might call this vintage, they're still very classic and relevant. And I think they would kind of withstand the test of time. So I'm just gonna put my little mitten pattern back in there. Here, sorry. So we had adopted 2 little baby bunnies, and they really love to chew anything on the bottom of my bookshelf, and they got to this before I realized it, but fortunately they only got to the binding. And I just think of these as little love bites that they gifted to me. So you never know, may have grandkids one day. Need to be prepared for that. When I was just trying to learn sweater construction for Fair Isle Knitting, I thought, well, why don't I just start with a baby sweater? I literally started with a baby sweater, and I made all my mistakes on the baby sweater. And the rest of the patterns are in the back. And I just thought, well, I don't have any babies to gift this to, but you know, you can keep it for when someone does have a baby. You can acclimate to learning how to knit in the round with colorwork without having to commit to an adult size sweater. I know that Beth Brown Renzel, or Renzel, I don't know how to pronounce her last name correctly, she does offer classes, and her classes include patterns to make miniature sweaters that you could put on a Christmas tree. And if you can afford to attend one of her classes, I think that would be a really smart idea. So the rest of that is just instructions. There have been little mom and pop retailers online that were selling patterns that were still kind of out there. And I found this one from a small online shop years ago, and I just thought that would be fun to add that to my collection. It reminds me a lot of the sweaters in Finland, and I love the colors and the color palette. Yeah, so that was from Rama. Here's another one from Dale of Norway. It's interesting how publishers, what sweater they choose to put on their cover. Let's see. I don't have a really good memory on why I chose to pick each of these books, which patterns were my favorite. I love the wrist warmers here, and this reminds me so much of the pattern designer that did the Poetry and Stitches with the Jacquard design and the really feminine color palette there. You can see how intricate some of these charted designs are to follow. Okay, so the wrist warmers here were super cool. I think you guys are going to really like this one a lot. So I want to say this might have been one of the ski team sweaters, but I'm not quite sure. It definitely looks like the ski team sweaters. So super cool. These are so classic, and if you go to ski resorts, I'm sure these sweaters show up a lot and people buy them. I think you can buy sweaters still from Dale of Norway, and they're probably sold in ski shops and fancy ski resorts here in America. I don't know, I've never been to any of those. Look at those. So that, to me, tells me this is circa 1980s. That's really over the top, isn't it? Some classic Selbu patterns. And a lot of these pattern books have the same pattern for the whole family. So boy, girl, mom, dad, classic patterns here. I just love those. So I ended up getting 2 of those. I'm not sure why. Why would I have 2? Huh. It looks like the second book is actually the pattern. Here is, at one point I was thinking, okay, before I realized I could do a baby sweater, I thought, well, why don't I just practice colorwork knitting on a pillow? And I was thinking, I was just looking for patterns to practice. And I think here is where I thought maybe I could get better at knitting by just doing something simple like a pillow. I have always tried to keep my eye out for holiday patterns, and there's some gift items in here, but I can only imagine how many patterns adult children have in Norway from their moms and grandmoms who have patterns from magazines that they may have kept over the years. So interesting that bird motif is so common, or at least I've seen it show up here and there. I think those socks are super cute. Some pot holders, hats, looks like felted hats. And, oh, aren't these adorable? They're so cute. And super cute children's mittens, absolutely adorable. So up next is a Dale of Norway baby book. Such a little cutie there. It's adorable. Sorry. You kind of get a look inside. Isn't that beautiful? The very soft pastels there. If you are a lover of knitting, there are so many layette sets from pattern companies, modern new boutique firms that specialize in very high quality yarn and very beautiful modern color palettes that are just phenomenal. I think at this era they were really using very strong bright colors, primary colors, and the traditional colors some novelty yarns show up in this collection here. Here's another book, and all of these come from different yarn companies from Norway. I think these are all Norwegian companies. I love the cardigans. I love that one a lot. Maybe with some neutral tone colors. I love this sweater here. I'm super in love with anything where there's a overall, like something that just goes straight across the chest and then on the arms. This feels like classic Dale of Norway type patterns, and something you don't see too often anymore in books that come out. A lot of books that are published in English that kind of reach the US market tend to come from indie designers who are trying to do things that are new and different and modern, which I love. A lot of the old classic patterns are hard to find. It's a poncho. It's pretty, I like that. Here's one where I think it's just instructions, and that probably for another book somewhere that got separated from the photographs. Here is another Lopi book. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show this. It's tiny, and oh, it looks like my bunnies really got that one. So there's a lot of Lopi patterns that you can get still. That are the old classic vintage ones. There's a few on Ravelry that are free, that are very popular. I love the Icelandic color palette of these brown and white colors. I've been following a YouTube channel called the Reykjavik Grapevine, and when you look at the landscape in Iceland, oftentimes you're seeing just nothing but beautiful brown earth with white snow on it. And I immediately reflected on my Icelandic knitting sweaters, realizing how much the color palette was influenced by the landscape that you see in Iceland with the ocean in the background, just classic. I just think that is stunning. I hope to knit a sweater, an Icelandic yoke sweater one day, but I keep trying to eye some kind of yarn that won't be heavy or scratchy. I'm not sure how I'm going to pull that off. This is an interesting book that someone was selling online, and it offers some step-by-step instructions for steeking, and I just decided to buy it because I had looked at this woman's knitwear and she was very successful, and I thought maybe she has some tips that I can't find elsewhere, so I have yet to read that book. This is from a French company, I believe, and I love the patterns from France. I find that the French knitwear designers tend to do things that are more feminine, and they tend to use yarns that to me feel are pretty luxurious. I don't know if this one has any color work in it besides that one there. Let's see. So here is one by Annie Blatt, which I love her designs. I've been collecting her patterns and I think they're super feminine. Let's see if I have all these patterns that I've been collecting, and I assume these are all Fair Isle, but I think some of these are sort of intarsia related. this one here, that one there. For the weather that I live in the winter, I could probably wear just that all winter and probably be pretty okay. It's the end of January and we've been having weather in the mid-70s for weeks. So it feels like spring is already here. We're having a very, very, very mild summer. That's one reason why I haven't been doing a lot of knitting, because it's almost just too hot. I can't really knit without my hands sweating a lot unless it's at least 60 degrees, in the 60-degree range. I love these summer sleeveless sweaters. It's just really pretty. Such a neat designer. I mean, so inventive and creative, and I just have fun looking at them, to be honest. Even if I never knit one again, never knit anything, I just love looking at them. This one is from Germany, but it was put into English. I think this is a German company, and I actually made that hat, and the directions were spot on, and I was able to follow it, and I actually modified it. It's a double brim hat, and I just decided to do some ribbing and then started my hat after my ribbing by doing this charted design, and then I just used the decreases to decrease my way to the top without having to worry about this brim. And I really love this because I live near the ocean, and these ocean colors are so perfect for kind of fitting into the landscape where I live. And I was really into blue color palettes at the time I found this. So they have socks and children's hats in this collection. Once upon a time, these things were so easy to find. It's just so many of these stores have disappeared. These pattern companies have retired these patterns, and a lot of these older patterns are just so much harder to get your hands on nowadays. But I'm sure that in the secondhand market, patterns like this are plentiful. It's just a matter of finding who has them, who's selling them, who's willing to part with what they have. Super cute leg warmers, very beautiful mittens, and I love this little tote bag. It looks like it's been felted. So precious. I've got just a few more and I'm almost done. Here's another pillow book. This was I bought this at a time when I was really busy and didn't have a lot of time to do much of anything in my free time, and I was just still learning Fair Isle knitting techniques, and I think I was thinking maybe I could just work on something simple that wasn't too complicated. Here is a cardigan, and my bunnies had fun chewing the binding, and so it's interesting, the sleeves are so full in this design. I think this is a one pattern booklet. Oh, this is why I bought this one right here. I loved that sweater so much that I was convinced that would be something I would knit one day, and I never have. I love this pattern. I thought, if my mom knit a cardigan for herself, and she knit it in very soft muted colors that are similar to this, and the neat thing about that is it will match everything. It will never go out of style. You can always count on that one sweater you knit for yourself that will last and last and last. Okay, we got another 2 books and then I'm done. Here is another, I think this is Dale, yep. And I don't know if this was an official, it says official, and it says 2004. I'm guessing this was one of the ski team patterns. Yeah, it does definitely look like it. So at this time, Dale of Norway, their designers were commissioned to design the ski sweaters for the official ski team members that represented Norway in the Olympics. And then they would produce the hand knit pattern, and those got published in English. And I believe they actually made machine knit and sold these sweaters too. So I was kind of catching on to all of this at the tail end of the height of the glory days of this company, and so I feel really happy that I found a few and was able to add some of these into my library. But look what it would take to follow your pattern repeat. You'd have, for me, I use post-it notes and stitch markers, tons of stitch markers. You can see I was getting ready to try to knit something here, and I never did. You can kind of see how these patterns are laid out in these booklets, where you have this area marked out in the starting point for where you would start, depending on what size you were choosing to knit. One thing I really appreciate about patterns like this is that a lot of what is so popular right now are the Icelandic yoke sweaters, and these remind me of those in the sense that there's a lot of plain stockinette knitting, which kind of I have a tough time getting through. But the cool part about these sweater designs is that they have the zip front, which I love. And if you're a designer or want to be a designer and you kind of like this drop shoulder construction with the front zip, if you had the skills, you could kind of use their template and slot in your own designs. So I really miss the sweaters in these days where it wasn't a crew neck. I love this finishing with the open zip there. So there's one more final pattern and then I'm done. So this is the ski team pattern booklet from the 2007 Olympics. And I guess I'm not sure why. So I know these colors are very popular in old Norwegian buildings where these bright orange and yellow colors are painted onto them. And so I think these colors kind of remind me of those buildings. So yeah, they've got the zip front around the neck, and you have different sizes for men and women. I love this one here. It's the same one, but in gray colors. I also love the raglan sleeves. That's one thing about a lot of sweaters today is you don't see this raglan sleeve with the zip front. I think this is such an elegant way to design a sweater where you have this collar going up and you can zip or unzip with this. For me, the raglan seems like a lot more comfortable than a sleeve that you would put in through steeking. Sorry, there's probably steeking involved in this. I didn't say that right, but I'll just say the opposite of a raglan sleeve, where I guess I don't have the exact term, so you guys know what I'm talking about. So this will give you a sense for the pattern repeat, or just that they have a center motif and then these other motifs. So there really is no pattern repeat in the sense that you just get the entire colorwork charted design for the entire front of the sweater, and if there's anything in the back, you're given the whole thing for the back. And you need to use post-it notes to kind of go through, or some kind of chart with a bar that you can mark off what row you're on to make it a little easier to follow. I don't think these patterns are too complicated. It just requires a huge commitment of time. I've seen some people on social media, this was before people went to Instagram when the blog world was pretty dominant. This is way before YouTube took off. There are stories out there where people started sweaters like these, and it took them 10 years to complete. And here's the children version of those sweaters. Cute photo. So those are my vintage patterns. I wish I had more. I wish all of them were equally amazing, but anyways, for people that haven't had a chance to see these patterns and maybe are just getting started in fair isle knitting and never got a chance to see some of these ski team sweaters or the classic vintage Norwegian knitting patterns that were available once upon a time, I just thought it would be fun to do a video. And I thought about doing this for so many years, and now I've finally done it. So hopefully some people out there will enjoy this. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'm gonna do one more video, and I'm gonna share all of the colorwork hats that I knit in 2020 that I had promised to do, but just got too bogged down with the stress of the pandemic to do that. So I'll do that next, and see you guys on the next one.